Hello, family. I'm Dr. Hernando Carter, board certified internal medicine physician. Yes, your primary care extraordinaire. And welcome to the Prescription for Better Living podcast, where we discuss all things health and wellness in a hip and relatable way. To all of my returning PBL family, welcome back. Good to see you again. And if you are a new subscriber, and we are growing, I want to say welcome to you. You know what I need you to do. I need you to like the podcast. I need you to share the podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, I need you to comment on the video. And I need you to spread the word wherever you go and tell everyone that Dr. Carter is here. Also, I would like to give a shout out to our podcast sponsor, Right on Time Physical Therapy. My man Cedric Cooper with Right on Time Physical Therapy will take care of all of your physical therapy needs, whether you're having maybe some back pain, neck pain, joint pain, or you're working out, getting ready to get your summer fine on, and you got some stiffness, some muscle tightness, and you need to work on some range of motion and mobility. If you have an older loved one who maybe have some issues with their mobility, maybe they are a fall risk, he can help with that with fall risk assessments and gait and balance training. So visit my man Cedric Cooper. You can check him out online, rightontimept.com. That's Right on Time Physical Therapy. And they're right over there off Avenue D in the Ensley Health Club, and tell them that the Prescription for Better Living podcast and Dr. Hernando Carter sent you. If you would like to support this podcast, there are several ways you can do it. You can become a member of our Patreon family. That's the best deal going out there. It's just $1 a month. Just visit us at patreon.com/Dr. Hernando Carter. We'll be glad to have your support. Also, you can hit us up on the Cash App, $PBL podcast, and you can hit me up. I'll meet you in the Wendy's or the Green Acres or the Chick-fil-A parking lot and get that old change up out you. So holla at your boy. But this is episode 35. Episode 35 of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. And this is the Limitless Life Part 3. So we started talking about the limitless life a couple of episodes ago. In particular, this thing called neuroplasticity. All right. And I haven't really gotten deep into neuroplasticity, just so you know, but I have been introducing the foundational concepts behind neuroplasticity. And guess what? We ain't going to get into really the scientific component of neuroplasticity, not even on this episode, maybe on the next one. I don't know. You have to come back and see. But why are you talking about limitless lives on a health and wellness podcast, Hernando? I'm glad you asked. Remember, we said that boundaries are all around us, right? There are boundaries that we set on ourselves. There are boundaries that others set on us. And we've been guilty, all of us have, of setting boundaries on others. And all of these are equally problematic. Now, the problem with boundaries is that they limit your potential. And again, we're talking about in this module, the limitless life. So you want to be able to reach your fullest potential, to be able to operate on the highest level you can with the highest capacity. And did you know that we don't access all of the power that we have available to us? And I'm talking about natural power. Now, we know there's spiritual power, but I'm talking about natural power. We don't access or utilize but a small fraction of our mental cognitive ability. Did you know that? We set limits on ourselves. There was a movie that you may have heard of called The Matrix. And in The Matrix, if you were in the Matrix and you were consciously aware of the fact that you were in the Matrix, you had the ability to break the laws of physics, right? In the Matrix, they could do things like walk up walls. They could catch bullets, all kind of neat stuff, jump off buildings. And the whole concept behind that was that once you unlocked your mind and decided not to conform and adhere to the rules and boundaries that were created by the makers of the Matrix to keep you in check, you could achieve and accomplish more than you thought. Well, Hernando, are you telling me that I could walk up the side of a wall or jump off a skyscraper? You better not try that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we all have a maximal potential that we can meet. And unfortunately, many people don't meet that potential because of this thing called boundaries. Now, the default human behavior is to look for boundaries in others and look for boundaries and limitations within ourselves. We look for flaws and faults. We look for imperfections in others. You know, I think about the first day of school, going back, elementary school, even definitely high school. That first day of school was always full of stress and anxiety for me because you had to play a balancing act, right? That first day back, everyone was going to be looking at you and sizing you up from head to toe, and they wanted to catch you slipping. It was weird because you didn't want to come in looking old and dusty, have on old beat down shoes and raggedy clothes. But if your mom happened to have taken you to like Parisians, y'all remember Parisians? You remember Parisians, Gary? You know about Parisians? Oh yeah, Parisians used to be over there in 5 Points West. My man Emmett Reed used to keep me dressed to the T. But if your mama took you back to school shopping, you didn't want to wear all your new clothes on the first day. You know, you didn't want your whole outfit to be new from top to bottom, because then they would call you new. Oh, he new today. He new. And then you will get criticism for that. So it was a balance in that, right? But life is kind of like that. Everywhere you go, people are sizing you up, right? They're looking at the way you dress. They're listening to the way you speak. And they're trying to assign you to a category. They don't know it. It's just human nature. They're trying to put you in a box. And we do it to others also. I hate to say this, but teachers see limitations in students. They do. Sometimes they make a value judgment on a student based off of maybe what the student's teacher from last year told them about that student. So maybe that student has a track record or a reputation. Maybe it's the background of the student, or maybe it's past failures of that student. But teachers put limitations on students. Now, I've told you my story, and I don't think, and as a matter of fact, I know that I'm not unique in this story. And it's sad that I had a counselor, a guidance counselor, tell me that I shouldn't try to pursue a career in medicine. I should not try to become a doctor, even though all I wanted to be since the age of 4 was a medical doctor. But she tried to tell me that it would be too hard. I was in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school, Gary. And she tried to tell me it would be too hard. So we know that that happens. And you know, I've had a lot of colleagues in the medical field who work alongside me, who are physicians or nurse practitioners, physician assistants, nurses, pharmacists. A lot of them have similar stories that somewhere along the way during their formative years, elementary school, high school, someone in authority who was responsible for helping to educate them placed limits on them and told them that their dream was unrealistic. So it happens. What else happens? Well, parents, unfortunately, vocalize limitations in their own children. Yeah. We see our children struggle with things. We know their struggles, and in our minds, we think, my God, what is this child going to be able to do? Will they be able to be successful? Will they be able to be productive? And you think about that and you worry about it and you pray about it. But some parents vocalize that stuff to their children. And so they place limitations and boundaries. So why do we do that? Why do we do that? Well, I think it's our culture. I think it's the way our society grooms us. Our society, and I'm talking about American society, does not look favorably upon mistakes. In our society, in our American society, in our American culture, a mistake equals a failure. A mistake equals a flaw. A mistake equals inabilities, a lack of capabilities. But how many of you know that mistakes are an essential part of learning? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And you say, well, where are you going with this, Hernando? I am talking to you about neuroplasticity. I'm talking to you about a limitless life. So we have what we call an achievement-based society that says that your value or your worth is based off of your level of achievement. We strive for the A as the goal. The A is the aim, right? And a straight A student is deemed to be smarter, more capable, and have a brighter future than a straight C student. That's the achievement-based society. If you don't struggle in a subject, if all of your subjects are easy in school, no struggle means that you're smart or you're gifted, right? And you're capable. If a student struggles, if a trainee struggles, if an employee struggles, then they are thought of as less capable, and limitations are more likely to be placed on that student or trainee. So an A is smart and capable, successful. A C or a D, not smart. If a student is struggling with a concept, the temptation is to think that they may not be as academically talented as a student who doesn't struggle. And I mean, what about you? Think about this now. Think about if there was a subject or a concept in school that you struggled with, right? How did that make you feel as a student to struggle with something, math per se, right? I hear people say all the time, oh, I ain't no good at math. Well, who's the judge of that, right? Is it because you struggled with math concepts in school and you didn't get A's in math? And then therefore you told yourself and other people told you that you're not good in math and you just received and accepted that limitation when you probably could have been an engineer or a mathematician or a rocket scientist or an accountant had you not accepted that limitation. So what have you told yourself you're not good at? Not good at math, not good at science. I'm not a good reader. Oh, I'm not a good public speaker. The concept of limitless life and the limitless mind says that you are wrong. The concept of neuroplasticity says that you are wrong. That is a wrong way of thinking. And our society in this country has it wrong. Well, we don't want our students to struggle. If our students are struggling, we view it as a failure. Well, what does the research say about this? Now, I'm a doctor, and this is a health and wellness podcast. So you knew I was going to throw some research out there because I know some of y'all think I just be pulling some of this stuff out my back pocket. But I don't. I want you to remember something called TIMS. Remember TIMS. TIMSS. Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study. This is a study. TIMS. TIMSS. Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study. Now, what is the stereotype, y'all, about math and science? Who do y'all say is always good at math and always making the high standardized test scores, right? You say that it's people from Asia, right? With Asian heritage or background. Japanese. That's what y'all say. Well, let's look into that. So the TIMS study is a review that occurs every 4 years looking at international tests of mathematics and science. This study occurs in 57 countries. 57 countries are evaluated, studied, and compared. In this last round of testing, what country do you think was number one in mathematics? Was it the US? Oh, no. Canada? Was it the UK? No. Singapore. Singapore, y'all, had the highest performing students in mathematics. So they said, let's see why this is. And researchers went into the classroom and they assessed the teaching in 7 countries. Singapore was one of them. So was the United States. So here's what they said about the mathematics curriculum in the United States of America. They said that the mathematics curriculum in the United States of America was a mile wide and an inch deep. A mile wide and an inch deep. A lot of rote memorization, a lot of repetitive, simplistic functions. The average volume of math problems that students worked in the U.S. classroom was around 40 or so math problems. Japan was another country. So you got Singapore, Japan, America. Japan was always in the top 5 in the TIMSS study. And this study showed that students in Japan spent 44% of their time inventing, thinking, and struggling with concepts. The students in the United States engaged in this kind of behavior, inventing, thinking, and struggling less than 1% of the time. Teachers in Singapore and Japan wanted their students to struggle. They wanted them to struggle in math. They wanted them to get stuck and work the problem and try to figure out how to make the concepts work. Get creative. They wanted them to make mistakes and be wrong. In the U.S., when students struggle, the teacher didn't want that. They viewed that as a failure. And so they would break the problem down more for the student to try and simplify it, help them more, give them more repetitive assignments to try and drill in the concept. So the differences here are in Singapore and in Japan, struggle is the goal. The educators wanted their students to struggle. Where in the U.S., struggle was not the goal. It was the opposite. If a student was struggling, it was deemed a failure. It was deemed as inept and not desirable. But what the Japanese and those in Singapore learned was that struggle equals deeper learning. Deeper learning. And not struggling led to a more superficial or simplistic style of learning. Did you know that research shows that the brain is more active when we are making mistakes and when we are challenged, when we struggle, and when we learn through discovery and trial and error? Oh, yes. The brain lights up more when you have to struggle through a concept. Did you know that you can become an expert in anything? Even as a layperson, yeah. If you have the time, if you put in the preparation and the correct type of preparation, you can become an expert in anything. I think about my oldest son, Ellis. When Ellis was in elementary school, we tried to get Ellis to take piano lessons, music lessons, and learn how to read music, but he wasn't interested. He was interested in basketball, soccer, and Angry Birds. You know, he didn't want to do it. He did lessons for a semester, and we let him stop. Well, later on, as Ellis developed and matured, He developed a love for music. He's very creative. He can dance. He can write. He can sing. And so when Ellis went to high school, he wanted to be a member of the chamber choir. And as a member of the chamber choir, you had to learn how to read music, sight read. He had to learn that. Now he took a class for it, but you're talking about somebody who maybe had a semester of piano as a child. Now at the high school level, reading music, advanced music, classicals, sight reading music. Not only that, Ellis taught himself to play piano, and not just play piano by ear, which he can do, but read the music while playing piano. Ellis taught himself to play the guitar, play the electric guitar, he can play the bass guitar. He can play the, I don't know, the woodwind guitar, what the cowboys used to pick, he can do that. I would hear him upstairs, trial and error, playing the notes off key, wrong note, wrong tempo, picking at the strings, all of that. But he kept at it and he kept at it. And he watched videos and he used apps on the phone and on the iPad. And now the boy plays beautifully. He sings beautifully. Well, if you were to scan his brain while he's going through that process, you would see a brain that is lit up, not during the expert phase, but during the I'm trying to learn this, I don't know it, and I need to get it right phase. Struggle. Having to really think. Deep thinking. So that is why they perform so much better in math than we do. While we're doing 20 and 30 questions for homework or in classwork, they're doing 3 questions for the whole day. The teachers are challenging them, giving them incorrect information and making them figure out what was incorrect and what was wrong. If you struggle through something like that and you really, really work on it, guess what? You learn it, you get to know it. And when you know something like that, you really know it. And they can throw curveballs at you on these standardized tests. They can state something wrong with one word, and because you've broken that thing down, I mean, who you want working on your car? Do you want someone who's only learned how to change the oil and top the fluids off? Or do you want someone who's had to break down numerous engines from all kinds of cars and then put them back together again? We're talking about an in-depth knowledge. And this is what we see. In Japan and Singapore, they learn by trial, error, and discovery. In the US, rote memorization. And 2 different standards. One shows that struggle is good. The other says that struggle is bad. But the proof is in the pudding, y'all. So why did you spend all of this time talking about this? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's because you should know that if you struggle with a concept, that's not a bad thing for you. It's not. If you struggling with a concept, that's opportunity because your brain needs that. The brain is a wonderful and powerful thing. And what the concept of neuroplasticity says is that the more we challenge our brains, the more new connections form. We have these things called neurons in our brain. And neurons communicate by making connections called synapses. And people who challenge themselves, who struggle, develop more synapses. So stop telling yourself that you're not good at something and you can't do something just because it challenges you and you struggle through it. You know what? Lean into it. Study that thing up and down, back and forth, in and out until you get it. And not only will you know that you have more capacity than you think, but you're actually unlocking parts of your brain, making new connections in your brain that you didn't know that you had. You're unlocking portions of your brain that you're not using. That's neuroplasticity. That's why, as individuals are aging and getting older, we tell them to remain active and engaged. Get out of the house. Interact with people. Don't socially isolate. Challenge yourself. Continue to read. Keep up a new hobby. Take on a task. Stop telling yourself that you're too old for the new phone. You don't do that new technology. Well, why not? Hell, they don't even make rotary phones no more. You adapted to that. Hell, we don't use oil lanterns no more to light up. We got LED lights now. Come on to the LED phase. You can see better. Look at these lights on me. I know I look good, but dang, they make me stand out more. Thank you, Gary. Could you imagine if this was an oil lantern lit room? You couldn't see me. Stop retiring and going home and sitting down. Get out and do something. You know why? Because when you sit down and you stop doing stuff, your brain starts to shrink. I'm telling you, we see it on MRIs when patients come in and they're having memory loss. It's called atrophy. The brain, as you age, starts to shrink. If you're a 70-year-old and you gonna act and feel like a 70-year-old and you're gonna sit on the porch with your rocking chair and your jar iced tea and just watch people pass by, your brain's gonna shrink. But if you're a 70-year-old and you got an iPhone and an Android and you going over yonder, here and there and everywhere, and you're working on some project, you're learning something new, you're reading books, heck, take on a new career, your brain shrinks slower. That's neuroplasticity. Now, on our next episode, I'm going to tell you about some very interesting research that I participated in when I was in college. Research into teaching the brain of a blind person to see using the parts of the brain that control hearing, and vice versa. And a deaf person teaching the parts of the brain that do vision to hear. Neuroplasticity, y'all. This is some cool stuff. So, this has been another episode of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. As always, I'm Dr. Hernando Carter, board certified internal medicine physician. Yes, your primary care extraordinaire. Telling you, if this podcast has helped you, blessed you, inspired you, taught you in any way, I need you to do a few things for me. I need you to like, subscribe, comment. But here's what I really need you to do. I need you to share the good news. Find the tallest mountaintop you can. Climb up to it and scream to the top of your lungs, hallelujah, Dr. Carter is here. Until next time, Dr. Carter saying, peace out.